We're going to start off with Mary and Jolie.
I know there are many stories, and I'm glad to tell Holy Trinities to people who care. 4 years ago, Holy Trinity was paired up with St. John the Baptist. Some believed it was to share resources. There was talk of merging. Those who went to parish council meetings knew that one of the two was to be closed. Increasingly, people didn't want to go to parish council meetings. They were very frustrating, as basically one parish tried to shoot the other, pitted up against each other, trying to defend their parish. Understandably, both parishes wanted their church to survive. Before this pairing up, Holy Trinity was in good shape financially. It had savings, it had enough money to pay for roof repair, some property had been left. During the course of the pairing up, our centers of activity were shifted to St. John the Baptist. We lost our religious education program. Some other programs. Morning masses were stopped at Holy Trinity. A cantor from St. John the Baptist came to Holy Trinity to be paid for by Holy Trinity parishioners. These and other things made it rather clear that the decision had already been made which parish was going to be closed. And some of our parishioners stopped going. They didn't want to stay to see the death. Some others, and this is hard to say, but this is what the process brought us to, some others stopped going because they felt betrayed by our administrator and could not receive the sacraments from him. Parishioners were used to strong leaders and were used to having financial statements, detailed financial statements. During the time when we were paired up, our bookkeeper was changed to someone outside the parish. Our trustees were also replaced, trustees who had been longtime parishioners that everybody knew, one of whom now is someone only marginally connected to the parish. The detailed yearly financial statements were stopped. Communication about finances was general, some warnings delivered from the pulpits. And then some time passed, and people started to feel hopeful again that maybe we were paired up just to share resources. So that when on Mother's Day last month, the news came from the pulpit that we were to be closed within months, many were shocked at the brutality of the news and at the brutality with which it was delivered. A group of concerned parishioners formed. We sent an appeal to the diocese. We were invited to a meeting at the diocese in which we were told, no, Holy Trinity is closing itself. We are not closing you. There is no mandate to close you. However, you are quickly heading into bankruptcy, and we are very concerned. Father's announcement, premature, was made to avoid a crisis. Reverend Lang, we asked, can we get out of this relationship with St. John the Baptist? It's not good for us. No. You are merged, or he said, he corrected himself. You are linked together to share resources. Is there a deadline to close one of us? We asked Reverend Lang. No, he says. So, Reverend Lang, if the good people of Holy Trinity and the good people of St. John the Baptist can stay financially viable, they can both keep their parishes open? No, he says, it's not part of the plan. Not one of us point out his contradictions. We are good sheep. I find myself saying, yes, Father, I'm sorry, Father, much more often than I planned. We ask him also if we can fundraise to get into better shape. He says yes, but the situation calls for immediate action, and you need the approval of your administrator. So we launch into immediate action. You see, Holy Trinity is not yet in debt. There are many things, of course, there are many things we can do to get into better shape, and we have many ideas. We make 100 phone calls to ask for pledges and contributions. We find bingo equipment. We have 4 teams ready to volunteer. Many ideas. Very, very reluctantly, our administrator somewhat agrees to allow us to fundraise. There have been no efforts to fundraise for ourselves during his tenure. He told me, I will not fundraise for a parish that is closing. I do not want to judge this man. It may be that he has so much integrity, he doesn't want to delude us any further. But whatever the motivation, we are still being stifled when we still could do something to keep ourselves alive. He gave us 2 minutes to make an announcement from the pulpit. Before we made the announcement, it was censored. Discouraging sentences added, encouraging sentences altered. A promise copy did not make its way into the bulletin. Another announcement for an upcoming fundraising event was not allowed into the bulletin. An estimate needed to pursue a grant proposal. There were foundations interested in helping us with roof repair, was not provided. And bingo is on hold pending approval of the Joint Parish Council, and our administrator has told my father, the organizer, don't put too much effort into that, John. It's not likely to happen. What I am learning is that there is so much the diocese can do to control a parish and so little parishioners are able to control. And it's very aggravating to people who feel it is our church. And a point was made at a recent parish council meeting that we've got to stop this parochialism. People have got to stop saying, this our church. Paradoxically, with our lack of power, we are told that it is our fault the church is closing. The parishioners are to be blamed. And derogatory statements, even from our administrator, about the parishioners have been made. Sure, there are good people, but they are the minority. Another paradox is that the Catholic Church holds the immovable position that it is wrong to kill something viable because it doesn't fit into your plan. And yet, we are being stifled because we don't fit into a plan that is not pastoral, but devious. Isn't it also paradoxical that our leaders repeatedly refer to themselves as shepherds, guiding their flock, but will deliberately weaken a member of the flock in order to kill it off? As some of my fellow parishioners did not want me to speak so strongly against our leaders, but I cannot help it. This process has destroyed my belief in our shepherds, and I don't want to be a sheep anymore. Personally, I'm often in a position to speak about America with non-Americans. I've been a Fulbright in 2 different countries. I've worked in American schools and institutions abroad. I've taught courses on American culture. I've heard Americans criticized as wasteful, materialistic, godless, violent, hypocritical people with little sense of long-lasting cultural values. We must know since 9/11 that how Americans are perceived by foreigners is something of importance. I try to defend my culture, but when I hear and live through these plans to destroy a beautiful neighborhood church, which to me represents something very good about Americans, a monument to what poor immigrants have been able to achieve, a respect for tradition, for sacredness, when I hear that, it's very hard to keep defending America. My husband, who is Czech and a thoughtful filmmaker, makes comparison between this plan with the Nazis and with communists. The communists closed the churches in his country for 50 years, but they did not raze them to the ground. They did not steal from them. They did not turn them into Gothic bars or make room for dollar stores. And today, 50 years later, these churches are reopened, some of them right next to each other. And the people in Prague are very proud of the number of steeples in their city. How is it that Americans question how many churches we need? We question how many churches we need, but we don't question how many dollar stores we need. One more point, because my fellow parishioners begged me to be positive. And this is where I am positive at the level of my fellow parishioners, because despite all of these attempts to discourage us, we still have this crazy hope. As Catholics, we believe in miracles, and we know how to pray together And I hope today we learned something about how to fight together.